Hi everyone, my name is Megan and welcome to my Flosstube channel. This is episode number, I don't know, here it is, 8 maybe? It has been like 4 months since my last episode, so if you've seen all my episodes, thanks for coming back during every single hiatus. And if you're new here, I hope you enjoy what you see and you stick around. So I have a little sidekick. So if you have been following along, or you at least saw my last episode, I was pregnant and we didn't know what baby was, boy or girl. I swore it was a boy, my husband swore it was a girl, and he was right. So let me show you little Miss Nora. She's not the happiest camper right now, but here she is. This is Nora Jolene. She'll be 2 months tomorrow, huh? Maybe 2 months tomorrow. Yeah. And she is the happiest little thing. Yeah. She's such an easy baby compared to our first. She looks nothing like her big sister. So, but she is just a complete joy. If she's fussy, she either has a dirty butt, or she's hungry, or she's tired. After like the first week or so, she wakes up once or twice a night to nurse. Yeah, she is just a complete doll. I told my husband, I said if all babies were like this, I would have like 20. And I just snuggle her and I smooch her soft little warm head. And she's getting her little old man hairstyle where she's losing it all except the stuff in the back. Huh, you're losing it all except the stuff in the back? And she's got her Papa's blue eyes. Huh? Papa's what we call my husband. Huh? You got Papa's blue eyes. Yeah. So, she was born at 39 weeks, 4 days. So, almost right on time. My other one was 6 days late. So, I thought for sure I'd probably make it to at least 40 weeks. But I did not. Oh, that was a big word. So she was born on a Sunday, so that's Saturday. My husband had his brothers and his dad over, and they were fixing our stairs to our front door because they were falling apart and it wasn't safe. So they got that done, and then we went out and we had like a little ice cream date with my nephew and my daughter, and the next day she was here. So perfect timing, huh? We just waited for Papa to get the stairs done? Yeah, okay. I know. We'll see how long this lasts. So, labor story. I'll make it kind of quick. So Saturday evening, like 11 p.m., my contraction started. I never had Braxton Hicks with either pregnancy, so I was fairly certain it was a real deal, especially because of how close I was to my due date. So, I was up until probably like 4 a.m. with contractions, just not that they were like super painful, but I couldn't sleep through them. And so I noticed, I came downstairs and watched TV for a while or whatever, but I noticed that when I laid down, they kind of spaced out. And then when I would sit up or anytime I was vertical, they were more intense and they were closer together. So we went over that morning to my in-laws, we had breakfast. And we usually hang out for like the first half of the day and go home once my daughter needs a nap around like 12:31. So we were hanging out there at like 10:30-ish. I told my husband, I was like, look, I'm pretty uncomfortable. I'm just going to go home. Y'all can stay as long as you want. Well, the plan was for my in-laws to watch our 2-year-old when I went into labor. So she just stayed there. And my husband came home and he like didn't know what to do with himself. So I sent him to go help his dad with an errand, and he got back, and I'm definitely in labor. Contractions are, you know, closer together, and they're more intense, and he still has no idea what to do. And I mean, there's nothing, he wants to be helpful, but there's nothing he can do, you know. I mean, he can't alleviate the pain. I don't want ice chips or anything, so I told him, I said, oh yeah, I said, just, you know, go play games. He plays video games sometimes. I said, just go play games. I'll let you know if I need anything. So he went to play games, and then when he gets stressed, he goes for a drive. So he goes, you know what? I'm just going to go for a drive just to like get out, give you your space. You need anything, call me. And so I knew he wasn't gonna be driving, you know, far away or anything. So I'm laboring at home, and it's probably like 1:15, 1:30. I'm like, yeah, you know, where are you? Not come home, just curious where you are, what you're doing. Well, he took that as come home, so he came home. Still nothing he can do. So I'm just like walking around the house, bringing all these contractions. When it got to the point where I was like on my hands and knees in pain during the contractions, I finally decided, you know what, maybe we should go to the hospital, because I didn't want to get there and them say, oh, you know, you've been in all this pain and having all these contractions and you're like 2 centimeters dilated. Not that it happened my first. My first, I think I was like 4 or 5 centimeters by the time I got to the hospital. And the first hospital I delivered at was like 40 minutes away. This one was just like 10 minutes. It's right in town. So I think that played a role in the part of me deciding to just stay at home as long as possible too. And so he's like, you know, I think we should go to the hospital. I was like, no, I'm fine. Oh, we should go to the hospital. No, I'm fine. So eventually I was like, okay, we should probably go to the hospital. So it's a Sunday, so we get to the hospital. It's like deserted, which I'm very thankful for. We're walking in. Right before we get to the entrance, I have to stop and just like lean on him through contractions. Then we get in like halfway through the first floor in the lobby, and I actually like had to bend down and squat on the floor during the contraction because it was so painful. And I guess there was some random nurse walking by, and she goes, oh my gosh, is she okay? My husband's like, yeah, she's fine. She's just in labor. And this is actually the hospital that I had my OB clinicals at last spring semester. So I knew exactly where the labor and delivery floor was. So I guess most people come in through the emergency room, but I just went up, and it's a locked unit. So I just rang the bell, and they're like, can I help you? And I was like, yeah, I'm in labor. And so they buzzed us in, and we walk in, and one of the nurses comes to greet us, and she starts asking me questions, and then I have a contraction. So I'm just like closing my eyes. I'm not answering her. My husband starts answering her questions, and they grab a wheelchair, and I sit down. They're trying to decide, do we take her to triage or do we take her to labor and delivery? And they're like, okay, honey, well, you know, is this your first child? No, it's my second. You know, when's your due date? Wednesday. It was Sunday. They're like, okay, she's probably in labor. So they brought me to the labor room, and it turns out I was like 7 centimeters already. And both pregnancies, I was like, I really want to go natural. I really want to have unmedicated birth. It did not happen by the time I got there. I was in so much pain. There were 2 nurses. One was just like doing all the paperwork, and the other one was getting IV started and stuff. Apparently, they stuck me like 2 or 3 times on my left arm to try to get an IV, and I only felt 1 stick because I was in so much pain from contractions, and the nurse was apologizing. And at one point I told her, I said, listen, that doesn't even register on my radar of pain right now, so you're fine. Poke as many times as you want. They eventually got it, and then I wanted the epidural. Well, you have to do the blood work, make sure you have enough platelets and clotting factors. So the nurse put that in for a stat. And then you have to have like, I think it's a liter of fluids before they'll give you an epidural. So she is literally there with the bag, like squeezing the fluid from the bag through my IV so that I can meet that 1 liter minimum. And then eventually the anesthesiologist gets there, and I get the epidural and all that. I felt the epidural, like, I felt the catheter, like, going through my back. Oh, that was a funny feeling. And so my first epidural didn't work at all with my daughter. And then this one, I felt everything on the left side of my body still. So I told my husband, I said, listen, if we have any other kids, I am not paying for expensive medication that does not work. So remind me of that when I'm begging for the epidural, because it does not work, and I'm tired of paying like hundreds of dollars for this medication. But anyway, from the time we got to the hospital to the time baby was born, it was like literally 2 hours. So a very fast labor compared to my first. And she is just a wonderful little addition to our family, and the reason why I haven't got much stitching done lately. So let's see, my parents came up to visit. They were here for 10 days. And my mom and I went to my LNS, Riverview Stitching, owned by RATM, the designer of Quaker Fantasies. And we went to their Thursday night stitch night. and that was a blast. Nora slept almost the entire 4 hours we were there, which was amazing. And then, yeah, oh, I know. I have a 2-year-old who's almost, she'll be 3 in September, just loves her baby sister. Cheers are on. The other day they were riding the car together and I think Nora hit her rattle. I'm not even sure she hit her rattle. It may have been like a speed bump and the rattle jiggled. And my 2-year-old was like, started clapping, yay, Nora! So it's been really sweet to watch their relationship start to develop. And when we brought Nora home from the hospital, all my 2-year-old was do was hold her. And anytime my in-laws were holding her, or I or my husband were holding her, she kind of had like a little fit and she wanted to hold her baby sister, and it was really, really sweet. Oh, and then my 2-year-old had, you know, the daycare snot, and my father-in-law was sick while he was watching the 2-year-old while I was in labor, and Nora ended up getting 2 just common cold viruses, which normally is fine, but for, at that point, a 3-week-old, 2-week-old, it was just too much for her, so we ended up in Children's Hospital and the PICU for a day, and that was where I did my peds clinicals in April at like 37, 38 weeks pregnant. So some of the nurses I worked with and shadowed were Nora's nurses. So while I don't wish that experience on anyone, it was neat to go back to the same hospital with the same people because I definitely trusted them with her care, and that made it a little bit easier. But she is healthy and happy most of the time, and she's just doing great. We could not ask for an easier baby at all. So very, very, very thankful. Okay, I believe that's all for my life update. So let's get into the stitching. Okay, popping back in with a few more life updates because I forgot about them, you know, like new mom brain, and I'm doing all these filming, stopping, filming, stopping, filming, stopping. So more life updates. So Nora was born on May 22nd, which is actually really cool because it's 5/22/22. My first daughter was born 9/10/19, so 9 plus 10 equals 19. It just makes it really easy to remember their birthdays. And I didn't know until my mom pointed out, but my nephew was born 4/21/21. So my sister had a baby 4/21/21. I had a baby 5/22/22. So I told my sister, I said, listen, next one's on you. You better get working on 6/23/23 because that's not happening for me. So Nora's born on the 22nd of May. My husband and I celebrated our 8th anniversary on May 30th. May 29th was 16 years together, which is half of our lives. So that was like a big deal. We've always talked about like, you know, if we're still together when we're 32, we'll have been together for half of our lives because we started dating when we were 16. And then May 30th is our actual wedding day. So 16 years together, 8 years married. Quite an accomplishment. Now, I was really hoping, because I was due May 25th. That was only 5 days after my due date. I was like secretly, really, not so secretly hoping that Nora would stay baking until that day because that would just be a cool story. But she came early, which is fine. Extra time to love on her. So we didn't actually do anything to celebrate our anniversary. I think, you know, the whole like having a 5-day-old or whatever it was, 8-day-old at that point. But this weekend, I think we always get Chicago-style deep dish pizza because on our second night as a married couple, we flew to Chicago from New Orleans, and we had a layover overnight to then fly from Chicago down to Punta Cana. How that makes sense is beyond me, but whatever. So while we were in Chicago, we were in the hotel connected to the airport, and our flight got in late, and we left early the next day, so we just stayed there, but we ordered in Chicago-style deep dish pizza. So now every year we get it, and we started that tradition with the intention of sharing the pizza with our kids as a way to like include our kids in our anniversary celebration. So we're gonna have our deep dish pizza this Saturday, and then we're gonna do like a little mystery murder whodunit kind of game. So that should be fun. And then, oh, so yeah, Nora was in the hospital for the 4 days when she was 2 or 3 weeks old. And then like 2 weeks ago when she was 6 weeks old, we all got COVID from my poor father-in-law who didn't know he had it. And to his credit, he looked and sounded totally fine. And then woke up like 4 a.m. and felt awful, took a test and it was positive. So that was Sunday that my parents and my husband and our 2 girls and I were all over at their house for dinner. And then like Wednesday, my husband was feeling off. So he took a test. So that day he and my mother tested positive for COVID. So my mom was off at work for like 5 more days. And then my daughter got sent home from daycare on Thursday because she had 101.2 fever. When she went to school, she was totally fine because they take their temperatures before they're allowed to like be there for the day. But I guess as the day went on, she got sick, and so I picked her up. So I'm assuming she probably ended up with COVID. It was like a 24-hour thing for her. Her temperature got up to like 102.5, I think, and then she was fine. I didn't get her tested because it's not pleasant. I'm just assuming like all these people she was around all have COVID, so she probably now has COVID. So then I'm like, great, I need my infant to get sick again. And so I was like, well, all I had was a sore throat. And that's it. So I was assuming it was COVID because I was fine before, but like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just sore throat. That's it. Nothing else. No fever, nothing. And so I'm checking Nora's temperature like 2 or 3 times a day, making sure she's fine. And it was always totally normal. And then Saturday is when I got really hit with it. I think I ended up with a temperature. I never run a fever. And it went from like 99.9 to like 103.7 within like 90 minutes. And so I was like, I had taken 2 tests at that point, 2 home tests. And I was like, well, maybe I'm just not going up far enough. You know, it said like 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch past little swab thing. So I'm doing that. My mother-in-law is a nurse, so she brought over some more tests for us. And I had her sit down and I was like, listen, how far do I have to shove this thing up my nose? And she showed me. I was like, okay, well, I was definitely not going up far enough. So then I did it that time and it came back positive. And it was like a faint positive, but it was definitely there. And she's like, yeah, that's pretty light. I guess when my husband did it, it like lit up like the 4th of July. And I was like, listen, that's more positive than my first pregnancy test with Nora, so I definitely have COVID. And I was like, fabulous, because I'm like sitting here breathing, smooching on my infant, and I'm like, great, she's gonna get it. But by the grace of God, she never got it. I don't know if it was that or the magical boob juice antibodies or whatever, but she never got COVID. Or she was, I assume she probably, there's no way she didn't have COVID, so I assume she did, and she was asymptomatic the whole time, but dodged a bullet with that one. And then in August, we are actually going to go camping with my in-laws for the, like 4 or 5 days, so that should be fun. We did it once last summer with my daughter, who was almost 2 at the time. So now we have a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old, and then an almost 3-month-old. So it should be fun. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, on to the stitching. I actually have a FFO for the first time ever in my stitching life. So if you remember from my last video, if you saw it, I think it was back in March, maybe early April, but I was designing a Ukrainian charity piece for one of the classes I had to take for nursing school. And so I designed it, I model stitched it. It's in my Etsy shop. I'll link it below if you're interested in purchasing. It's pretty inexpensive, but here it is. Hope is the last thing lost. And then I designed some little sunflowers. So you could even purchase it and just stitch the sunflowers as a small. That would be super cute. You could leave the sunflowers off and just do the words. And then on the backing, I did just some wood type fabric from Hobby Lobby. And this trim was actually from Hobby Lobby too. It's like a hunter green chenille looking kind of trim. So yeah. Obviously, I have a lot to learn. You know, down here where I stitch the trim together is not the best. And then it definitely needs, like, I don't know, more stuffing. Maybe I should have left more fabric on the edges. I'm not quite sure. But you know what? For my first FFO ever for cross stitch, not too shabby. Okay, I do have some FOs, finished objects. Is that what it's called? So if you remember from my last video, I was stitching a little piece for a Fall Smalls Exchange from Stacy Stitches or Stacy C Stitches Facebook group. And my person liked the frosted pumpkin kind of style, so I chose a chart, not from them, but I chose Mini Autumn Sampler by The World in Stitches on Etsy. And this is what it looks like. I'm almost done. I think the only thing I have left to do is add the color in the eyes. So this is stitched 1/1 on grab bag linen from Color and Cotton. So with their grab bags, they don't label the fabric at all, the color or the count. So I took a ruler and I measured it an inch and I tried to count, so it's either 32 or 36. But yeah, it was my first time on that count, either one, and my first time doing 1/1. I don't know if I'm necessarily a fan, obviously I did not iron it, because the coverage is a little thin, but then 2 strands, it was pretty thick. And I asked in a couple Facebook groups and almost everyone said 1/1, so that's what I went with. But yeah, I have to fully finish this and mail it off, I think, by the end of the month. So I have like a week left to do it. But yeah. So that was one of my FOs. My next one, that was like a longer drawn out project for me. I've been working on it for a while, so I wanted something small. And so I went with French Country Turkey by JBW Designs. I don't know when I got it, but I've had it for a while. And I did the turkey. I did not do the gobble gobble at the bottom. And so here he is. I'm calling it he. I have no idea. I stitched this on 28 count linen. It was not named. I used Threadworks Cayenne, I believe is the color, not the called for. And then what I love, besides the fact that it's stitched, like I did this in like 24 hours, up so quickly, is that in here there's little hidden fall motifs. So there's a basket, there's a heart, a pumpkin, I think this is a bird, I think that's another turkey within the turkey. So super cute. It finished up about 4x4, so I don't know how I'll finish it. I'm thinking maybe a cute little wooden style hoop to display it on. But I had another whole half of fabric, so I wanted to use it up before I just kind of put it in a bag and forgot about it. And so this pattern is a freebie. It's from Heart and Hand off her website, and it's called Harvest Alphabet, I believe. And there we go. Again, I did not use call for colors. I just pulled my own. This is the same color. This is Cayenne because I had some left over. The rest of it is just DMC. But I love it. I think it's adorable. And this might also be for an exchange. There's a Halloween Facebook stitching group. I'll put the name here. And they just posted signups. And I believe signups are open until like August 24th, I think. So if you're interested, you can go sign up. I'll put the link down below. But it's either a fall or a Halloween exchange based on whatever it is your partner wants. So we get our partners like August 26th or 27th. And by then I'll be a week into nursing school, and this is supposed to be the hardest semester. And you have to mail out your finished piece completely, fully finished by October 1st. And so a month sounds fine for a small, and normally it would be fine. I mean, I just did 2 of them in like less than a week. But I don't know how much time I'm going to have with school going on. So my plan is to stitch a couple different fall Halloween smalls and then just pull one based on my partner's likes and dislikes and things like that. So I'm going to save this little guy. And then the next one I'm working on, or one of my whips, is Waxy Moon Designs Haunted House Trio. I've had this pattern for a while. I think my mom or my sister gave it to me. But I'm doing that first one at the top, the Haunted House. Sorry for the glare. And I am doing that on a scrap piece of fabric. This, I believe, is 28 count vintage smoky white cashel linen. But I just started yesterday, so I'm just working on the border all the way around. Some of these are the called for colors. Some of these I chose myself, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab them and I'll show you. Okay, there's also 310 in there, but I'm not pulling that out because that's nothing special. Bear with me here, there's quite a few threads. Okay, so here are the threads I'm using. And so that chartreuse green is the fancy floss, and the purple is fancy floss because that is for the house. But, oh, and then this one, this little, it's very light, it's called Moon Glow by Weeks, is a fancy floss, just for a tiny piece of it, but the rest is DMC. So I'm excited to stitch that and see how that comes along. The whip I was working on last time I filmed, was Patriotic Scissor Pocket by the Scarlet House, and I was working on the big patriotic pocket in the middle, and I switched up a lot of my colors, and the color that I used for this bucket was a Threadworks Caulking Cream, and I ran out and I wasn't going to have enough for the two little smalls. And so my mom was a saint. I bought it at her L&S, which is across the country. So she went there and she bought one and she mailed it to me. So now I have enough. So thank you, Mom. This is, I'm not sure what fabric. I'm going to assume it's 28 count. And I know for a fact it's linen. But here we go. So I have no idea what I stitched since the last time I filmed. But I'm getting pretty close. I just have some flowers to fill in over here and a flag, and then this will be done. So I am putting this away for now. I kind of got burnt out on it and I want to do some kind of fall Halloween seasonal stitching. So that's going to go away for a while. And those are all my whips. So we are going to get into a haul. Before we do haul, I was working on a thread organization project that I want to share with you in case any of you need to organize your thread or are looking for a new system. Okay, so I like thread drops, and I made some in the past with cardstock and I laminated them, and they held up okay, but they're still cardstock. So I was very careful with them, and it was a pain in the butt to make them in the first place, and I didn't make enough, and so I was looking for a new system. Well, I found these little plastic bobbins at Hobby Lobby by the Floss, and I want to say it was like a 50 pack for $1 or $2, so super inexpensive, and they are hard. They're definitely plastic. And they did not come with the 2 holes in the bottom. It was just a regular plastic floss bobbin. So what I did is I have like an industrial 3-prong hole punch, and I punched 2 holes in all of the bobbins. And then my plan is to write the number. So if it's DMC, I'll write the number. If it's a fancy floss, oh, actually I'm not doing this for fancy floss, I'm just doing it for DMC. So I'll write the number on here, and then the hole on the left is for the fresh new entire skein, and this hole is for whatever thread I'm currently using. And then this one is where they're just all hang on the rings. So I'm not totally done, but I'm say I'm probably like 75% done with this project in my DMC. And for a second there, DMC was on sale at Joann's, and then you could use like a 20% off your total purchase if you purchase online and pick up in store. So I did that. So I think I brought the skeins down to like 36 cents each. So I just bought a whole bunch because I didn't have a lot of DMC at the time. So here's what they look like. So my DMC I'm going to organize by numbers, not by colors. Fancy floss I'm going to organize by colors. So I have, you can see it says DMC, it has the number, and then this is the whole fresh skein, and then this is the piece I was using. So yeah, so they're all on these big jump rings, and my plan is to get, so these metal bars are from IKEA. a couple years ago, and unfortunately they don't sell the same model and color and design. But I'm going to get some kind of little shower bar and hang it up over here on my wall, you can't see, under my thread swatches. And these will just all be on it sliding around. And I get to look at the pretty colors, and it's going to be much, much easier for me to put them away after a project and for me to switch colors and pick colors and what have you. So this is my bag full of DMC, DMC that I've already done. So I just have a few pieces or a few skeins left to do. Okay, one last little interruption here about the DMC and the fancy floss, especially the DMC, but the fancy floss too. So a while ago I went to visit my sister when my nephew was born, and she had all this fancy floss and stuff, and she had no idea. It was like disorganized, and she didn't know what she had, and she had like 3 of this one, and she needed that one, and she didn't have that orange, but she had, you know, 4 of these kinds of oranges or whatever. And so I took all her fancy floss one day and I just input it into Google Sheets. So I broke it up. Each sheet was a different company. So there was like a Color and Cotton company and Weeks Dye Works company and, you know, Gentle Arts, whatever. And so I did that with my fancy, well, I haven't done it with my fancy floss actually, because I just got my fancy floss a month or 2 ago, but I will be doing it with my fancy floss. But I did it with my DMC when I was doing my bobbins and everything. So now when I go to Hobby Lobby, who now like permanently price their DMC at like 53 cents, which is pretty awesome. Or Joann's when they have the big DMC sale, and I'm like, oh poop, I don't know if I have 412 or 716 or whatever it is. All I have to do is pull up the Google Sheets app on my phone and then scroll over to the DMC tab and look and say, oh no, I don't have 310, but I have 7 of 504s or whatever. So just a little tip, I'm sure some of you already do it, but if you don't or you haven't thought about it, it doesn't take much time at all, and it's very, very handy. So, Stitchy haul. So last time I filmed, like I said, it was March or April. Mother's Day came, so I bought my own Mother's Day gift. I actually just bought it not intending to be a Mother's Day gift, and I was like, ooh, this is way too much to just be like a whatever purchase. So Mother's Day was coming up, so I told my husband, I was like, look, I already bought my Mother's Day gift, so don't worry about it. I won't open it or play with it or use it until Mother's Day. And so what I did was I heard on someone's Flosstube, I don't remember whose now, but I heard that Fire Poppies was going out of business, and so, or closing. I went and looked on their website, and I didn't have a lot of fancy floss at all because I'm fairly new to stitching. And frankly, it's expensive, and so I just buy it for projects as I go. Well, I think with the sale it was like under $2, like $1.75 or something like that, and I was like, well, I cannot pass that up, I have to buy some. So I ended up buying, okay, I just had to pause. I thought I heard the baby crying, but she's not. She's napping. I ended up buying, I don't know if it was like $80 worth, so I think it was like 65-ish skeins of fancy floss, but it is gorgeous. So I organized these, you can see, like based on color. Oh, the baby is crying. I'll be right back. Okay, if there is a new noise you hear, it is a baby swing because Nora decided she did not want to take a nap, even though she normally does take a nap, but she's super overtired, so she's in the swing so I can keep an eye on her, and she's happy and napping, and hopefully I can get the rest of this video done. Okay. But I've organized them on rings by color. So here are my pinks and reds. I have my oranges and yellows. I have some greens. Here are my purples. I have some blues, really pretty blues. And then I have my neutrals. So this is blacks and browns. I don't know if you can even see that. It's like super dark on my end. And then these are like creams, grays, taupes. So yeah, that's all my fancy floss, and I was so dang excited. So that was one half of my Mother's Day gift, and the other thing that I purchased for myself was some color and cotton fabric. So I purchased some just big old pieces of linen, and then I think 1 or 2 of their grab bags. I'm not sure which grab bag I purchased, so I'm not going to worry about showing those. But here's one linen I purchased. It is just a limited edition 32 count, quarter yard. So it's a really pretty, like, slightly bluish gray color. And then this one is a much more blue gray. This is also 32 count. It's 14 by 25. Oops, gonna try to get through at least these last 2 pieces before she gets fussy. Okay, this is definitely a darker gray, 32 count. I'm sensing a theme. I was going for like, well, I love grays as my neutral, but also like wintry kind of grays, because I'm thinking like smalls, winter, snow, that sort of thing. And this is 20 count limestone. And this is like a light khaki-ish color. I also just recently purchased, but it was in my fancy floss, 2 mystery bags of Weeks Dye Works from Color and Cotton, because I guess that at one point they had a retail store and they had leftover stock, so they were just getting rid of it all, and that worked out. Even with the shipping, it worked out to be like, I think, less than $2 a skein, or right about $2 a skein. So it was great. And then I only ended up with 1 duplicate, which was the Moon Glow that I used, or I'm going to use, for my little waxing moon design house. Okay. At my LNS, I bought 3 patterns. The first one was Bottle Brush Tree Farm by Hands On Design. And my LNS is Review Stitching, which is owned by RETM. She's the designer behind Quaker Fantasy, so that's pretty cool. Then I bought Scissor Sampler by Talon Emblem, because Elizabeth Ann Stitch was doing it and I really liked it. I will probably change some of these colors, but my plan is to stitch it and frame it and hang it up somewhere over here. And then the last pattern I bought was, I automatically grabbed this when I saw it, because this is basically, I know, my thoughts on winter. It's called More Snow, Oh No by Artful Offerings. Because coming like January, February, March, I am so done with the snow. Even though, honestly, most years we get it into at least like once in April, and sometimes even in May, like mid-May in Michigan on the really bad winter years. So that's no fun. And then I did a while ago purchase the Nashville Needlework Cookbook. If you can still, I don't know if you can still buy these or not, but if you can, you should totally consider doing it. I think it was like $8. And it comes with tons of recipes. These are all the different designers in here. Tons of recipes, and then there's even a few smalls in here, so absolutely worth the $8 that costs. And we're back. It's been quite a few hours since that last little bit. But anyway, so the woman at my mom's stitching retreat who put the retreat on made all these project bags, so my mom bought one for me, and she was selling them for $5. I don't even think you can make a project bag like with the material and the vinyl and the zipper for $5. Like, that is insane. So I don't know if she just has a whole bunch of them and she wanted to get rid of them, she was sick of looking at them, or if she just truly finds joy in making them and doesn't care if she's taking a loss or not making a profit. But yeah, so I got a new project bag. Thank you, Mom. Ironically, I have made and sold project bags before in my Etsy shop, and I don't actually use anything besides those clear Amazon, 12-pack of zippy things that we've all seen everyone use. So, okay, this is the quilting part of the video, so if you're not interested in quilting, I will see you later, and hopefully see you before, like, December or January when I graduate. We'll see. Okay, so let's just do haul first. We'll do Quilting Haul first. Okay, I am making a patchwork quilt for customers. Someone, I'm doing a commission, and so she wants twin-sized Heather Ross quilt for her daughter's bed. And I have a whole bunch of Heather Ross fabric in this green bag. I will put a picture of the stack here. So I am super excited about that because I love Heather Ross and I get to play with it and I don't have to pay for it. Someone's paying me to play with it. But in one of those orders for some of that fabric, I got some fat quarters for me because they were 30% off. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is some kind of American quilt. I'm sure you've seen like Jeanette from Country Cottage Stitches. She's doing the like kind of rustic faded American flag quilt that she won the giveaway for. I actually have that pattern and a whole bunch of fabric I purchased probably like 3 years ago. So I haven't made it yet, but I won't be making that pattern, but I'll do something similar. Anyway, so I got these adorable strawberries. And then I'll hold these up two at a time. I have no idea what fabric line, who makes it, none of that stuff. So, look at those shoes. I love that. That looks gray. It's definitely like a minty kind of blue. This one. These cute little like 70s looking flowers. These, again, this is not gray. It's like a sky minty blue color. And these just because they're stinking adorable. This is actually that gray color. So that was one haul, and then like a long time ago, I don't even remember like what store I got this from, it was so long ago. But they were having some kind of massive sale because I got a lot of fabric and I never buy it unless it's on sale. Okay, so I'm making a Halloween quilt. It is low volume with little black witch hats in it, and I cut it out last season, but that's as far as I got. But I'm using this, I don't know, like Old Maid line, and so they were selling this remnant, so I'll probably just use it as part of the backing when I piece it. And then everything else I got almost is Halloween fabric. So again, oh, this one has selvage. I could probably tell you what line this is. This is Cotton and Steel, Bring Your Own Booze, like B-O-O-S. So those cute little, oops, pumpkins, vampire bat pumpkins. We got haunted houses, little ghosts. And then these three bats and all the little stars on them are metallic. So there's this, it's definitely not pink. It's like a very, very light peach. But there's this one. This is that minty blue color. And then this is like a very light lavender color. And then these are all from designer Libs Elliott. Her line. They're just really fun, rainbowy, bright fabrics. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but I have enough that I can totally make a quilt of some sort. And this one, and I really like this one. And then these last two are Anna Maria Horner, and I hate these actual flowers, but I love the fabric. There's another colorway that they were out of, so I'll probably, I don't know, maybe make a project bag with these, use them in a quilt, who knows, but they're super pretty. Okay, and that is all for haul. So I am periodically working on eventually making my husband and I like a king-size quilt for our queen-size bed, so there's lots of drape so no one steals covers from anyone. And I'm using Carolyn Friedlander fabric because she is like one of my favorite designers. And I did all the cutting, and now I'm like in the process of making over 2,000 half square triangles, which are a complete pain in the butt because you gotta cut them, you gotta sew them, you gotta... iron them, and then you have to like square them up. So it's a whole process. And I was like, you know what? I just need to make a block so I have like a light at the end of the tunnel. I know what I'm working for. So here is one of the blocks that I made. And I am not going to bring it closer because my points never ever ever line up, and I've just come to accept that, and I don't care because when we're using this quilt, our eyeballs will be closed. That's the beauty of a bed quilt. But yeah, I love it. It's all, so all the Carolyn Freelander fabrics are all the blues and greens. And then actually I think this background is also hers too, this black hashing. But obviously I tried to like not make it super girly. I would even argue this is more masculine, but our bedroom is painted like a dark foresty olive green color, and so I wanted something that obviously would go with that. So here we are. Who knows, we may have an actual king bed when I finish that quilt, because I've been like begging and nagging my husband for forever, so we'll see. One day I will get my king size bed. Okay, here is a FFO quilty edition. This is Nora's baby quilt, so it is way too big for me to hold up here, but I'll give you like a little sneak peek. I just did low volume log cabins. I actually started this like 5 or 6 years ago, just because I wanted to, because I saw someone on Instagram make one of these, and I love it, and I have a whole ton of fabric. A lot of it's already cut into, I think these are 1.5 inch strips, so I will be making another one, probably just like for me, for like a lap quilt kind of thing. And I tried to fussy cut the centers. I don't know what that is. But I hear you, Nora. Oh, like here. So it's a good thing she ended up being a girl, because there's a couple of low volume pinky looking fabrics. And then here is part of the backing. So this is fabric I ice dyed myself. And you can see I did hand quilting, Baptist fans all over. And there's my little label. It says handmade. And then my name on the other side. So here's a picture of the front and the back. And so I took her first monthly photo on her quilt, and so I'll do that every month, and it'll be fun to compare her size to the block sizes in the quilt. Okay, so the next up on the quilting agenda, besides the Heather Ross commission, is a quilt for my nephew, because my sister-in-law and we had our first kids are 8 days apart, and she is due with her second in August. So these next set of cousins will be 3 months apart-ish. So we call them cousin twins. She has 2 boys, or she will have 2 boys, and I have 2 girls. And so they are going with a Southwest theme. Actually, I don't even know why I'm grabbing this, because it's not like I can stand up and show you. I'll insert a picture. This is actually a tester quilt I made 1 or 2 summers ago. And well, it's a quilt top. I never actually quilted it. So I made the top, and I made a piece of the backing, and just never did anything with it. So it's great because I don't have a lot of time, and this perfectly fits her theme. So I got it basted one day during a nap time earlier this week, and so I'm just gonna do some kind of simple, probably like diagonal quilting on it to kind of echo the triangles in there. And then my other one I don't have to show you because it was gifted, but here is a picture of the front, and then I'll show you a picture of the back. And this was a pattern I wanted to do for a really long time. It's sold by Center Street Quilts on Etsy, and it's foundation paper piece, and it was just a couple bucks, maybe like $6. And it's meant to just be like a mini, but I just made a whole bunch of them and made it into a quilt. And I actually used all scraps from my fabric stash, except I did buy like, I think 3 fat quarters just because I like the prints, and then I did buy the backing. So I have leftover backing, and as you can see, it actually fell over. This is my blue scrap stack, and then this is my yellow bin. So you can see there are still plenty of scraps, and I plan to make another one because I really, really enjoyed it. I love the colors. That was really hard to give away, that quilt. But I set out knowing that I was making it for somebody and that someone was actually my midwife. Unfortunately, she's moving. I knew she was moving, or I knew she was probably moving. She was looking for jobs, and she missed like prenatal appointments because she was flying around the country going to interviews. Well, it turns out she took a job in Florida. So how ironic that I made sunshines. I was like, I told her it's very sadly ironic and fitting because I made sunshines for you and you're going to the sunshine state. But anyone who has her in Florida is very, very, very lucky and blessed. She's just amazing. I love her. I'm very sad for me, but I'm very happy for her future patients. And yeah, I mean, like, she answered all my questions when I was pregnant. Labor and delivery was a breeze. She told me when I was at my last prenatal appointment, she said, just give me enough time to get there. I said, well, how far away do you live? She said, like, only 7 or 8 minutes. So basically the entire time I was in the hospital in labor, my eyes were shut. It was just like one of the ways I was, I guess, dealing with the pain. And so she got there and I opened my eyes and looked at her, and it was like, I think right before I got the epidural. And I was like, I gave you enough time to get here. She said that you did. And she was worried she wouldn't be able to get changed into her scrubs, but she was able to. But 5 minutes later, 5 minutes pushing, and Nora was here. So yeah, I don't know. It took me 32 years to find like an OB that I liked, or midwife, and now she's moving. But one of the nurses that I had in my hospital stay, I was talking to her, and she had just recently graduated and gotten her degree in midwifery. I think that's how you say it, and being a midwife. So my current midwife actually suggested her, my nurse, and another midwife student that was shadowing her during my pregnancy for the open position, because there needs to be 2 midwives there for the number of patients they have. And so I was like, well, that makes me feel good because I really liked my nurse, so I can just hop on her caseload as one of her patients. And I think that's it. I have no idea how long this video is because I made it in like 5 different segments at this point, so thanks for bearing with me if you sat through the whole thing. I would love to film one more before I start school again, because realistically, once I start school, I'm not going to film another one until I graduate in December, hopefully. And then maybe there'll be big life updates with like job, and that would be super interesting. So thanks for joining me, guys. Keep stitching, and I'll see you later. Bye.